Welcome to episode 58 of the Rise Fitness and Nutrition Podcast. I am your host, Carlo. Today we are talking about a hot topic, good and bad foods. Is there such a thing? Should you be careful? Should you listen to the lists? Stay tuned to find out more. Alright, so we hear this a lot. Eat this food because it's good for you. Don't eat this food because it's bad for you. The reality, though, stays in the middle. We need to make a simple distinction here to better understand whether something is good or bad for you. When you start a fat loss journey, there are two sides of the medal. Sure, there's your physical health and how you feel through fat loss, but also, and I will say equally importantly, if not sometimes much more important, there's your mental health. And I dare to say that it's a little bit more important because if your mind is in place, you can be able to be consistent with your fat loss. Why? Well, if your mind is not there, it's easy for you to say, fuck it. Today I'm just gonna have whatever I want because, I don't know, I woke up this morning and my scale went up for unknown reasons. That means that whatever I'm doing is not working. When your mind is there instead, you can say, okay, today the scale went up. I am not sure of the reasons why. Maybe yesterday I had more food. I had more water. I had a very heavy workout session. Or my sleep quality wasn't that great. Or maybe I didn't go to the restroom yet. Or I cannot go to the restroom and poop. As easy as that. So my stomach and my digestive tract might be still a little full. So it doesn't matter that today my scale went up as long as my 30 days, at least my 30 days trend is going towards the direction I want. See, when your mind is there, something as simple as the scale going up one day has a logical reasoning behind. So you don't need to flip and just go berserk because it's not working. But how do you make sure that if you're on calorie deficit, your mind can still follow the calorie deficit and still be reasonable? Here comes the distinction for good and bad foods. I want to make it very clear. I do not believe in black or white. I do not believe that something is inherently bad or something is inherently good. The reason behind that is that we are all different. We all have things that we like and things we don't like. So I ultimately believe that the decisions that we make over food choices might make something better or worse for us, independently from the labeling that you might find for this food online. Because you can find everything online. I can promise you can find articles that say that the same food is good and the same food is bad. It's a big trend and also depends on the marketing behind that foods. That out of the way, let's get back to the main topic. If you go on a calorie deficit for fat loss journey, you need to have two things in place. You need to have your physical health, sure, and your mental health there, because if those two things work together, you can be consistent and you can reach your goal. Clear? Okay, so what do I mean by the combination of both? So to be in calorie deficit, you need to eat less. Yes, fair enough. I'm not gonna go too deep into the details of the macronutrients, but let's say that if you need to eat 1800 calories a day, the composition of those 1800 calories depend on your likes. Sure, it's important to have a specific ratio of macronutrients, fair enough. But to start from, to make things very simple and accessible to everybody, I think it matters more to reach the number of calories with things that you like and that you enjoy, because it will make it less complicated to start to be in calorie deficit. And then, of course, the longer you are, the more you can learn, the more you can understand, and the more you can adapt your macronutrient composition to your goals. But it's very common to see online very strict calorie deficit plans that forbids entire categories of foods because they're bad for you, they're gonna kill you. Now, understand this. Everything has a place in your diet, as long as it has the right place and in moderation, because even too much of good things can be actually bad for you. An example, water is great for you, but if you drink way too much water, you can actually kill yourself. So what do I mean when I say the right place in your diet? Okay, so if you need to be in calorie deficit, you need to be below a certain amount of nutrients per day. But that doesn't mean that you have to be, first of all, 100% consistent every single day of the month for an infinite amount of months. First, so there is some flexibility. Some days you can have a little more, and some days you can have a little less, as long as the average is the same. But also, it doesn't mean that to be in calorie deficit, you had to entirely give up categories of food that you like. Even if the label online says that they're bad food, like, for example, I don't know, ice cream, chocolate, cookies, pizza. Oh, if you search online, you can see that these are the source of all evils, and these are all the foods that make you fat. Whereas on the other hand, there are extremely healthy solutions that will make you lose fat no matter what, which is also bullshit on the other hand. But let's consider broccoli as an example that are globally known as healthy and amazing for you, and you should have broccolis every day. But maybe you belong to the unlucky percentage of population that has IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and broccoli are actually quite bad for them. So even if I tell you that you should eat broccoli because they are amazing, when you eat broccoli, you feel like crap, quite literally. So that for you is a bad food. And even if I push you to eat broccoli to be in calorie deficit, you might do it 2 or 3 times, and after you feel extremely sick again, your mental health will be out of sync with your physical health, so you will decide that the diet is not good for you, and it's not working, that it's actually bad, so you might revert to unhealthy diet patterns. Whereas on the other hand, if I tell you that to reach the amount of calories that you need every day, you can choose whichever food you want, as long as you are within the calorie deficit and possibly giving priority to protein to start from, that is quite different, because along the composition of food you can have throughout the day, you can have, for example, a cookie, or you can potentially have ice cream, as long as they fit your daily calorie goal. And in this sense, you will feel better mentally. So for you, staying within a certain amount of nutrients per day will be much easier, because you can choose the things that you like. On the other hand, you can also make a list of things that are good for you and bad for you to make it easier to make food choices during the day. In my case, you probably know that I am quite allergic to garlic and onions. I don't choke, but when I eat food that contains garlic and onions, then I feel sick. Call me a picky eater, call me whatever you want, but if I can avoid touching, eating, seeing, and smelling those 2 particular foods in my daily diet, I feel awesome. Should you force me to stay in a diet that has garlic and onions, I will stop 1 day after starting it, because I will be so sick to not be able to do anything else. So good foods, bad foods, generally speaking, is a distinction that I don't like. Yeah, of course. Generally speaking, if you eat a kilo of ice cream a day, that is not the best idea ever for your health. But having a little bit of ice cream throughout your diet, staying within your calorie deficit range, makes it a lot easier for you to stay in the diet in the long term. Again, because you have things that you like. I am always skeptical when I see articles and posts and influencer talking about good foods and bad foods that are good for you or bad for you, because that ultimately depends on you. When you remove from your own diet things that you don't like or that make you feel sick, but you can include things that you like, even if they are not necessarily the healthiest choice ever, that helps you adhere to your calorie deficit. One thing has to be said though, it's all about veggies. I know that lots of people don't like eating veggies, but veggies and also fruits are extremely good for you. So unless they make you severely sick or you are allergic to any specific type of veggie, unfortunately, you should learn to eat those. And it doesn't mean that you had to eat them raw or steamed, that they might not necessarily taste great. There are a million ways where you can cook veggies and also enjoy fruits in ways that are delicious and that are actually really helpful for your body to thrive. So if you don't like veggies, if you don't like fruits, sorry, but again, unless you're allergic, you kind of gotta do what you gotta do, which is eat them veggies. And I know that this might be against what I said all the way here, but just to say that there are some things that nonetheless are rich in nutrients that you should consider even trying. If you need some motivation to start eating your veggies, think about it this way. When you were a kid and you went back home and told your mother, Mom, I don't really feel like doing homeworks because I don't like them, what would your mother say? Your mother would probably say, shut the F up and do your homeworks. So you might want to tell yourself this when you try veggies. Again, if you're not allergic, when you try veggies, like, I don't like them. Well, actually, you do need your veggies. So in that case, shut the F up and eat your veggies. Take me as an example. I hated broccoli, but now I got used to them and I actually quite like them. At the beginning though, it was a little bit challenged because I was not really used to the taste. But then, yeah, I love them and I actually do crave them. When I run out of broccoli, I'm always like irritated. Funny, huh? And that's it for today's episode. Thank you very much for listening all the way here. I hope you found this useful and that this can help you make your choices for your goal. If you like this podcast, please share it on your Instagram channel and tag me at thecarl.fit. Find out more at risefitnessnutrition.com/podcast.